Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern again. And this is when we have On Right with me, Anthony Cordova, and my beautiful wife, Jill Cox Cordova. Now, also, for those of you that are used to the show and have been here before, this is just kind of a intro telling you what you can do and what you can't do and stuff like that. So if you're listening to this on replay, you can just fast forward right past this. So it's 4 minutes at this point of me just kind of rambling and get right into the show. But tonight we're going to have Dr. Diane Mueller with us, and she is a sexologist and also an author, among many other things. And I just want to do a sound check for Dr. Diane. So Dr. Diane.
Hi, Tony.
Oh, there we go. That is a preview. So everyone has heard your beautiful voice before we've even started. So everyone get ready. So yes, everything seems to be working just fine. So we're good. So we've got another 3 minutes and 20 seconds until we go to video. Okay, I want to thank all of the listeners that just listen to our show on audio. Even though we're live video, we still have a lot of listeners that just listen to the audio. And that is great because I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden our podcast numbers are just like blowing up. It's insane. So it seems that people like to listen to my voice. And Jill's voice, of course.
I was going to say, I'm here too.
She has a wonderful voice also. So, but it's great. So everyone remember to like and subscribe because we know we can watch this on YouTube and Facebook. So on YouTube, like and subscribe, do all of that. All of that stuff helps us out. And also remember, if you're here live in the show, you can post comments during the show. So if you're on YouTube or Facebook, that's what you can do. And we love for you to do that because you, the viewer, the listener, makes the show better. Okay, I would like to say it's just me that makes the show great, but unfortunately, that would not be accurate. So we really do need your input, and look, I'm tongue-tied tonight. Input, there we go, we got it out. Because you do really make the show better. Now we have approximately 1 minute and 20 seconds. I am tired tonight. That's the second one I've done. So, and the show will be here and we will go live with video with me, Jill, and Dr. Diane. And she is amazing. You're just gonna love her. So don't miss out of this show tonight. So I hope some of you are already here in the audience, ready to go, but I'm sure many of our regulars will be here. So we have approximately 45 seconds and the show will begin then. So please stand by. Well, 20 seconds to go, and you're going to see and hear us. So I'm looking forward to it. See you in 10 seconds. Come on,
not
Jill.
Together.
Come on, Jill. Come on. You can get it. It's like this. Wait. It's like this. left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
All right, I got it. I got it.
Anyway, I love it when it works, but it does not always.
It did work. In the end, it worked. Greetings, everyone. This is I'm Right.
I'm Right.
And I'm Jill Cox Cordova.
I'm Anthony Cordova.
And we're back.
We are back.
Because it's Wednesday.
We're here, season 8.
Season 8.
Still
going strong.
We're still moving along.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And we have people with us tonight. We have a special guest, which we will introduce a little bit later. I'm excited about this guest. I really am.
Do you want?
I think she's phenomenal.
Don't even want to say who the guest is?
Her name is Dr. Diane Mueller, and you all know me. I give people props for getting doctorates, and she has 2.
Yes.
So I will definitely be calling her Dr. Diane tonight.
Cool. You should. And I will too. Because she's fantastic.
She is. She's definitely fantastic. We also have the audience here with us tonight.
Who do we have?
Let's see. We've got Connie Cordova in the house.
Hey,
she's
Connie,
present.
what's happening?
Hey, family. Hey. And then we also have... hi, friends. Looking forward to hearing another great show from Angela Jackson Brown. If you all don't know, if you're living under a rock, Angela Jackson Brown is a famous author.
Yes, she is.
Check her out. Check out. Especially her latest book, Untethered. Check that out.
All like, Kasha, but he loves you. That's all that plays out. That
and Nina Simone. That was in my head the whole time.
About the book, because people.
Don't give any spoilers. Yeah. That's not what we do.
But the book is amazing. And Angela, if you don't know, you're part of my crew. So that crew, you're part of my crew. So when Jill...
Part of mine too. Although I know you all think I left you all in the lobby, but that's not what happened. But anyway.
Okay.
We have other people here.
What else we have?
We have Ronaldo in the house. Hi, Ronaldo.
Hello, Ronaldo.
Hey, family. Then we have... Look who it is. It's Stacy.
Stacy.
Good evening, Stacy.
We love Stacy.
We do.
Stacy, we love you.
Much love. Much love to you.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
I always love when Stacy comes to the show.
Me too.
She has very good energy.
So does our guest tonight. She has really good energy too.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing we noticed about her.
Yeah. Woke us right up.
It did. We were both tired. We were like, oh. Yeah. All right. So shall we get to what tonight's topic is about?
Let's get to it.
Tonight, everybody. I know some of you are going to like, whoo, that's spicy for Jill and Tony to talk about. But tonight, we are talking about connecting the dots between caregiving and maintaining passionate relationships.
Let's get it on. Ow, baby.
Hey, all right.
Let's get it on.
Okay, well, let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
By talking about our first segment that we call...
Stand by your stance.
That's right. We do call it something.
Your stance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I thought it would be interesting for us, since that's our topic tonight, for us to talk about, how difficult is it to maintain passionate relationships when you're trying to, or you have to, be a caregiver for someone. Everybody knows that, well, not everybody, but if you know us, you know that my mother lives with us, but we're not her caregiver.
Yeah.
We're not her caregiver.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. We're not there yet. But she does live in the house with us.
Yes.
And many times I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this. She watches every show the next day. But many times she thinks I'm like 6. So for me to be 6 years old and I'm, sleeping every night with you,
That does not sound right.
It
That does
doesn't. I'm just
not
saying that
sound
in her
right.
mind,
That
on
that
one
doesn't
hand, she
sound
looks at
right,
me
Jill.
like I'm 6. On the other hand, she's like, well, you and Tony are, well, she likes you better than me,
Not
but
true.
you and Tony are married, and like it can impact a relationship, or at least,
Well,
you know,
well,
well.
well. I think.
I think it is hard, especially if you add in, if you're caregiving for. We're not there yet, but if you're caregiving for someone, you're probably exhausted.
Yeah, you probably are, but we all need to do self-care, and part of getting it on is you gotta make some time. So self-care, maybe you might have to set some time to even just get out of the house and go somewhere else.
That's true.
And get
Like go away.
Well, look,
Like
you
for a
could,
weekend.
You could even go to that, the motel where you pay by the hour.
No, we
could
will not go there.
We could go there to the motel where you pay by the hour.
Will not go there.
And
I do 5-star
away
hotels. I do not do motels
just
with
to get
coins.
Away for a little bit, quickie. quick.
Well, we're getting information from. I'm going to bring in our guest on this topic. Well, what is your stance? Is it difficult?
My stance is yes, it's difficult, but you have to set some time for yourself.
Absolutely,
and your partner.
I
You
do
have
agree
to
with
set
that.
Time. Oh, excuse me.
I don't say this very often, but you are right in that regard.
I am right.
You
quite
are.
Often,
You are.
Jill.
We're still getting comments from our audience. Charlie's in the house.
Hey,
Hi from
really,
Massachusetts.
Charlie.
Hi.
What's going on?
And he also says motel, hotel, holiday inn. But not for Jill.
That's right.
And then Angela's like, come on, Jill. I know you have rhythm, girl. I do have rhythm. I do.
See, you couldn't.
I do.
See, there
When
you
I'm
go.
not tired, I do. I really do.
Okay.
Okay, well, without further ado, let's bring in our special guest. Our special guest, everybody, is Dr. Diane Mueller. She's a certified sexologist, but also many other titles. So let's just go through them here. She's a podcaster of the Libido Lounge.
Ooh, gotta keep that low.
She had, and this is her website, Dr. Diane Mueller, because you may want to contact her after this show. Also, she runs 2 clinics, My Lyme Doc, and we'll get to why that is a little bit later. And then she also runs My Libido Doc. So Dr. Mueller, Dr. Diane is what I'm going to call you during this show. She gave me permission, everybody, to call her that. What's your stance on this? Like, is it really difficult for caregivers to maintain a passionate relationship?
Well, I'm going to tell you, but before I do feel called to also let you guys know that some hotels that rent rooms by the hour are not trashy. Some of you are like,
Oh, you see?
hotels
You see?
who actually rent rooms by the hour. And they do it.
It's good to know. I did not know that. See, she's already educating me. Okay.
So you can have your, hot, sexy date, go rent a room by an hour and not be in a like trashy motel.
Trashy.
It can actually be very classy and well done. So just to know
right.
that.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I didn't know. Did not know. That is good. That's the best information yet.
Yeah, right?
Show is over.
She
We
came
got
in
enough.
hot. She came in hot with that information.
We have enough information.
All right, we're done here.
Thank you. We got to go and find that classy by the hour.
Exactly right.
Okay. All right.
But yes, in answer to the more serious question, I really think that in general, where we're at in society, most relationships are in a state of overwhelm. So, yeah, with caregiving and everything else that people do between jobs and fitness and health and all the things, kids, whatever it is, throwing the caregiving scenario is just one more thing that people have to manage. But as you said, Tony, one of the fundamental things that I think is the most important thing in caregiving that oftentimes gets left out of the equation and the conversation is like the self-care. And so the more we can actually make time for that, I think the better the caregiving goes and the less resentment we have, the more we have to give and those sorts of things. So I have a term that I've kind of coined, which is pleasure is not just about desire, but something we require. And I
Oh,
say that because
Yeah.
when
I
we
like
actually
that.
look at, right, it's easy to remember. I love easy to remember things, right? So when we look at research on what pleasure does for us, right? Oxytocin, one of our pleasure hormones, there's many different pleasure hormones that get released. Oxytocin is the most common one that people know about. But we see that it lowers cortisol, our stress hormone. It actually improves sleep. Studies have shown that it increases happiness. It reduces anxiety. So, all these things, right? The overwhelm, the anxiety, all these things that often happen when we are caregiving for somebody we care about, that oxytocin and increasing our oxytocin can really help mitigate some of those challenges. And here's the kicker. So some people have heard of things like the 20-second hug to release oxytocin. And it really is 20 seconds that oftentimes is needed to give a good hug. Yeah, hold it and count it out. It's longer than you think. But here's the kicker with that. So what we see in studies with blood levels of oxytocin is that they tend to go up 20 to 50% with a 20-second hug, which is a lot. But with something like an orgasm, they go up 200 to 500%.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Orgasms are better.
Wow.
Whoa. I thought I was doing something with hugs.
You are.
I said, in comparison, because I'm a hugger, hey, but orgasms way
Orgasm.
higher.
Well, that's better.
Cool.
That's better. Well, Dr. Diane, you have 2 doctorates. Tell us why you went for 2 doctorates and what they're in.
I just love learning, honestly. Like that's probably my busiest, like the thing that I do more than anything else in my time is just continue to gather information. So one of the doctorates is in naturopathic medicine. And for those that don't know naturopathic medicine, similar to an MD, first 2 years, fairly identical. And then where MDs go off and they do their rotations mostly in like pharmaceutical treatments, we study as naturopathic doctors, we do those rotations also with pharmaceutical, but in much smaller amounts. And then we focus more on diet, lifestyle, other types of ways to heal and really get to the root cause and bring the body into balance. So that's more kind of like it focuses a lot on the physical, but I really wanted something that was more on like the energetic, spiritual side of healing as well. So my second doctorate is in acupuncture and oriental medicine. I went to a school that was it really inspired by Taoist types of philosophy. So understanding the polarities, the opposite, the feminine, the masculine, what these forces inside of us do, what these forces together do. So that's where I draw on a lot of that knowledge in many ways from a lot of the work and what I do at my libido doc.
Oh, that is
And so
excellent.
if someone comes to, like I said in my introduction of you, I mentioned that you run 2 clinics. And so both deal with everything you just said. So if someone comes to my libido doc clinic, what happens there? What do you tell them?
Yeah, that business is purely on education. So we start and we do things sometimes like exercise. This is a really great exercise, you guys, is write down all of your top values in life, right? All the things top to bottom. So start number one is like, oh, the most important thing to me in my world is my kids or my wife or my husband or whatever it is, right? So you write down, you list them in the value order. And then you make a pie chart. And in this pie chart, you make 24 pieces of the pie. And so probably 7 to 8 of them are going to be sleep, right? So that leaves you 16-ish pieces of the pie. Write down what you're doing with the rest of those slices of time, and then compare the pie to the value list. And it's a really cool like introductory place for people to start, because oftentimes what we see is, wow, this thing that is like my top value, in many times it doesn't even make its way to the pie chart.
Wow.
So what we want to do is we want to start saying like, okay, well, are we living in our life? Are we living our relationships? Are we living our joy in accordance to what we value the most? And then we start to tease it apart and say, well, what are the physical root causes that are getting in the way of our health, our happiness, our libido, our sex drive, such as hormones, circulatory system, neurological system, pelvic floor health, on and on and on. Then we want to look at the internal body and say, is there shame? How do I feel around sex? Like, so many people have these micro traumas around sex, and they find, especially with women, there's so much dissociation that can happen with sex. With men, there can be a lot of performance anxiety at various parts. This really wanting to please their partner. And sometimes if that's not happening, there can be a lot of internal personalization around that. So we work on that. And then we do what I think is like the most important and the most fun in a lot of ways, is we teach you how to talk about sex with your partner. We teach you how to ask for what you want, what you need, how to explore that, how to talk about fantasies. Just because you have a fantasy does not mean you have to do the fantasy. There's a big difference between having it and doing it, right? But the thing with that we teach you is how to communicate in a way where you're improving your communication, your intimacy, your sex life, better sex, all of that, more oxytocin, right? Mm-hmm. While making sure that we are not hurting your partner's ego. Because what's so interesting in studies on conflict is anytime there's conflict in any relationship, there's 3 threats: threat to the one individual, threat to the other, threat to the group space, right? Kind of that in-between space. Mm-hmm. And in most conflicts, it's pretty equal as far as like the impact on these 3 spaces. But on research on sex and talking about sex, what we find is one of these 3 areas is so much more at risk, and that is the individual. So if I'm talking to my boyfriend about sex, then I'm going to be worried most about protecting my ego, myself, subconsciously. He's going to be worried about protecting himself the most subconsciously, like by a landslide. So it really changes the way we navigate these conversations, because oftentimes we go into these with a subconscious driver to protect ourselves. So we teach you how to do that and a whole lot more.
Excellent. Cool. Do you think that, well, you said it. So are you part of the movement? Are you leading the movement where people discuss this more? Because I don't often hear people talk about sex.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
unless you're, in the relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Did you have anything else to say? I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. Okay.
Yeah, I'm certainly part of an organization we call the Intimacy Alliance of quite a few of us that are doing this work. But, that's been shown that about 70% of people are dying, according to some surveys, 71% are like dying to talk to their doctor about sex, right? But they don't. And they only will if their doctor brings it up. So it's one of these things that, and in some of the surveys, what we see is that people don't bring it up because they're worried about like their doctor being uncomfortable, and they don't know if it's like, they don't want to put anybody in that position. And so it's been this huge taboo thing. And even the way we're taught about sex in medical school, right, in these education programs, is that we're taught that arousal and desire, like I was literally taught this, largely works the same way for females and men. And when we actually see science,
we're all shaking our nope. Even I know that.
Right. Right. But we don't know exactly, like, we're not exactly taught how the difference are. So for example, there's a difference between arousal and desire. Arousals of the body, that's like, oh, the cock is hard, the vagina is wet, right? Desire is in the mind. It's like, oh, my mind is thinking about sex. I'm excited about this. I'm turned on in my mind. And for women, the desire does not come first most of the time. It does early on, but usually this is where, like, people in a hetero relationship, they start having sex, and then, like, the woman 20 minutes in oftentimes has a thought, and it's like, wow, this is actually feeling good. Why don't we do this more often? Right?
Surprise.
And that's because it takes that arousal. She needs to get into her body. She has to feel the sensations, that body change. And once the body starts changing, then the mind changes, then the desire happens, but it's not the other way around. So, so when we're taught these principles, it totally changes the conversation of how we approach sex and intimacy with our partner. And ultimately, I just want everybody to be in happier, loving, more connected, longer relationships. And I find that this is a really important, component of it. So I like talking about it.
And that's great. That's great for us.
Yeah.
We have
this is fantastic.
Right. We have a comment. Angela says, when we were talking about motels, and you educated us that there are nice places that you can do that. So she's wondering if the Brown Hotels in Louisville, Kentucky, has such amenities. Maybe we need to check into that.
Like,
yeah, we should ask.
Because one of the reasons that they sometimes do it is, like, business people coming through. I'm sure they know that other things happen, but sometimes people are driving through, they're flying, they just need a place to stay and do work. And I think that's at least what the theory I've come up with of why this happens, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
Right? Call them up in a few minutes. So another question I have for you is how in your research and in your working with people, how does age affect passionate relationships and work? Like, many people are so, like, they're stressed from their job. They spend a lot of time working. And now that many people work from home, like, does that impact in general passionate relationships?
Yeah, the interesting thing about this is it does, but only if we don't take action. Like, similar to, like, if we sit at a desk all day and we start having joint pain because if we don't move, well, it's because we're not taking the action, right? So it's a similar type of scenario. With age, it's really interesting. What we've seen over the years is the STI, the sexually transmitted infection rate in nursing homes, has gone way up. Like, I have some colleagues that actually go around to nursing homes and educate them on condoms, right? Because they haven't been using condoms. So what that tells us is that we do see a propensity for some people with age to have increasing amount of sex. However, the time period of, like, the 40s, 50s, 60s, I think in particular, where the careers are at an all-time high, there's oftentimes kids around, and the stress sometimes is at an all-time high from so many different angles. It's one of these things where if we don't add it to our wheel, if we don't add it to that time, oftentimes it does not happen. And this is why I tell people, you got to schedule it. Like, one of the early entry things to talk about is, and care with people is, like, pick a date, Friday at 5 p.m., not too late for most people. Don't try to, like, schedule your sex date at 10 o'clock at night. Like, not going to happen for a lot of people because
going to sleep.
Tired.
Right? I got to go to sleep.
I think a wonderful time for sex, if you can, get a babysitter, get, home from work, all these things, if it works, is like 5 p.m. before you cook, before you're full, all those things, have your hour of intimacy time. Not saying you're going to be doing penetrative sex the whole time, but have that hour of we can work up to that. There's a lot of techniques for that. Don't worry. But the point is, you can have that hour of intimacy time, of love, of connection, and then go about your evening, regardless when it is. Have it work for you. But the cool thing about scheduling it is, one, it becomes a priority. Two, it actually starts to take the pressure off from that conversation of like, are we going to do it? Are we going to not? Are we going to do it? Are we not? We can still have the spontaneous sex, but sometimes it relieves that. So then if people are like, goodness, I know my partner wants to, and I'm just so exhausted. When you have that scheduled, everybody knows like at a minimum, this is going to happen, which can take some of the pressure off the other times of the week. But one of my favorite things for scheduling sex is oftentimes people have forgotten how to flirt with each other, how to kind of, play that role. And here's where it adds the flirt, because now we have a time period where we can start thinking about like, okay, well, are we going to put on a cute new pair of panties or whatever it's going to be? And you can start using that around like, well, I'm really excited about this thing. And you can start sending texts or saying things throughout the week around what you're looking forward to in your intimate night. Maybe it's just like, giving each other a sensual massage. And maybe you're starting there if you haven't had sex in a while, right? It doesn't have to start with a lot of sexual intensity, but it still gives you that desire to flirt. And that oftentimes gets people back connected to each other and to that sort of passion, because now we have something to actually flirt about again.
I love it. And I guess it gets back to what you said what you and Tony said at the beginning of the show, is when you put yourself on the schedule, that's self-care too, right?
Yes. If you don't put your relationship on the schedule, like this is where it kind of just like falls off that pie chart, right? It happens to everybody. It's so freaking natural. It happens to everybody in situations where we're not taking active stances not to. And that's really important. I have a gift for you guys too. So if you guys go to mysexdoc.com, you can download my yes, no, maybe checklist. And this is a really cool, it's totally free. And you're going to see in there, in the yes, no, maybe checklist, it's like, do we want to try this? And 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 some of the things are not even, they're more like intimate, emotional connection. It's not all about sex. And so the idea of this too is like, what are we going to do? Like, especially if you haven't been spending time together, either emotionally or sexually, it gives you some ideas of, okay, what if we try this tonight? What if we try that? And it gives you kind of talking points to how to begin this conversation. So that's another like really cool tool for you guys as well.
And you said that was mysexdoc.com?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
All right.
I'm repeating it for the audience. Speaking of our audience, several people like that question. So I guess, they're busy and they're older. Steph said, old people out here getting it on.
All right.
Yes.
And
all right.
Steph also said it spices it up to schedule sex as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking about that schedule. Sex 5 o'clock, sleep at 6.
I love that plan.
Perfect.
That's a great self-care.
Yeah, that'll work.
Are we talking AM?
PM? PM. 5 a.m. is a little too early for me. That's 5 o'clock, sleep. Maybe wake up. Maybe wake up. Maybe not. Who knows?
That's a little too early for me. We'll have to mesh our schedules together. All right. Well, let's get to our second segment that we call
I'm trying to help you.
All right, Jill.
All right, Dr. Diane, you have been dropping gems from the moment you first started talking on this show. We've learned that not just trashy hotels, you can rent them for an hour. We've learned that from you. We've learned how to schedule put our relationships on the schedule. We've learned how to do that in the pie chart and values. Yeah. We've learned all of this. So what last bit of advice would you like to leave for our audience?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, like one thing, I have to boil it down to one moment. Okay. So here's a really important thing. So I know there's probably people listening that have not had sex, in a while, and whether that is a month, whether that is 3 months, whether that is a year or more. One of the things that sometimes happens in the beginning, if you're like, wow, we haven't done this in a while, is sometimes it can be awkward. And there's an element with this where it's like, you kind of just have to rip the Band-Aid off. And with that, what I encourage you to be is playful. Like, I think so much of the time we make sex this like serious thing, because of course it can be. But sex is actually one of the places, like one of the only places as adult where we can like really bring in fantasy, right? As an adult, like there's so much fantasy, between, wizardry and witches and fairies and goblins and all these things that, children play with. And we lose touch with that as adults. And sex is actually one of the areas where it is like we get to play so much. So the point is that if you're listening and if you haven't had sex in a while, I really encourage you to just take that, like that awkwardness that could come with it and start to make light of that. Like the number of times, like a couple weeks ago, my boyfriend and I were having sex and we bonked heads like really hard.
That sounds like something we would do.
Right. And this was like one of those moments we stopped and we just like started laughing and we just like enjoyed like the awkwardness of like, well, that did not work very well at all. And so I think the more we can just bring in like lightness and silliness and just like that laughter and that play, it really can open up so much, and just let go of like those awkward things that happen and not make a big deal out of them. And that can take us really far.
That is
Excellent.
great advice.
Excellent. That is wonderful advice.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
role
that's
scenario.
it.
Maybe don't try to fly though. Or that's Superman. I'm getting my superheroes.
Superheroes, nonetheless. And my advice is to listen to everything you just said and to go to mysexdoc.com after this show. I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
That'll be
I'll
great.
be with you.
Yeah,
Do you have anything to add?
Right?
Yeah. I'm Batman.
Going back to the
That's what I
schedule,
did.
Steph gave us advice, Tony. Steph
5
says 5 a.m. and 6 p.m.
No, what's that say?
5 a.m. Oh, and 5 p.m.
PM, yeah, that's
Both. She's saying both.
I thought it was continuous from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m.
That's a lot.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about now.
That's a lot.
That's a fun time.
Maybe Dr. Diane, maybe we need to bring you back for another show and talk about when the people involved in the couple, they have different frequencies that they want.
Desire mismatch is a real big thing that I help couples with. Yep, exactly
Okay.
right. It's one of the most common things that people will work with me for. So we can definitely talk about that.
Okay, we'll bring you back for sure.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Anything
Dr.
else you want to
Diane,
ask?
you have just been a wonderful guest.
You have.
been
We
like-
were really tired before this show started, but once we met you, we were just perked right up.
Don't be tired. You're great.
So thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate you. So as Dr. Diane told everyone, go to mysexdoc.com. She's also, again, to tell you her credentials, she's also a podcaster, The Libido Lounge. I'm sure that's very informational as well. This is her website, drdianemueller.com. And then I mentioned that she does she has two clinics, mylimedoc.com and mylibidodoc.com as well. And we, again, mysexdoc.com.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff.
But you've been great, Dr. Diane. We really appreciate everything that you've said tonight. We really appreciate
Yes,
it.
it's fabulous.
Thank you for having me.
And I will bring you back to talk about the other topic.
I would love it.
Okay.
We would love it.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well,
Woo!
are you ready
That's
to
it.
wrap
Yeah,
up?
let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Diane. I'll be in touch after the show.
All right. Okay. After show, anyone? We need your input. Like, we really do want your input. If there's a show you would like us to do, let us know. You know how to reach us. Just let us know. Or a question you have for us, just send the question. We want your input. So please hand it to us. And we are going to do one we got from an audience member, most embarrassing moment.
Oh, yes. That is next week.
That is next week.
It's next week.
I better get ready.
Most embarrassing moment.
Okay.
So, John Boltman, if you're out there, remember to come to next week's show because that was your idea.
That's right. And remember, I'm right. Every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can also watch the show from Jill's website, JillCoxCordova.com, and click the podcaster tab. Yes.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yes,
I really
that was a lot
enjoyed
of fun.
doing tonight's show. That was fun. Not that I don't every show, but it's really fun. Dr. Diane was great.
Extremely informative.
And Connie said good info. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what
Thank
she
you.
said. Wow.
It was
cool.
great info.
Yeah. All right. So we need to wrap this up.
Wrap this up.
I
All
got
right.
30
We're going.
seconds.
Okay. Bye, everybody. See you
Love
next
you
week.
all.
Bye. Love you.